This is Yaul Raushan and this is the Can is Can podcast. Now, some people grow up with everything. Others fight for scraps of love, of safety, of identity. And the story of today's guest, it's very much the latter. From stealing to survive to being made an orphan at 14. From spending time behind bars to standing tall today. Rizwan Habib didn't just break the cycle. He took hold of this narrative. And now, Rizwan is giving back as a social worker, helping others escape the same trap he once called home. This is a story of pain, purpose, and a belief that no matter how far you've fallen, can is can. Rizwan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you with us, Rizwan, and thank you for being the third guest on this Can is Can series. Your story is one of resilience, and I can't wait to unpack it. But if someone met you for the first time today, how would you introduce yourself?
Just my name.
And beyond the name, let's say the conversation goes places and they ask you, I guess it's a common question in terms of, Rizwan, what are you up to these days? Do you feel comfortable enough to share everything you've been through?
Oh, usually when someone asks, I just meet someone and usually I'll share, the first thing I'll share is I have 3 cats. So my cats will always be in the picture.
And your cats clearly are a big part of your life. Perhaps introduce
Definitely,
them to me.
Yeah. So I have 3 cats. The names are Mochi, Luna and Bruno. Yeah, they play a big part in my life, for sure.
And I can see you mean that because there's sort of a gleam in your eye when you talk about your cats. They are your family now, but I have to shift this conversation to a bigger part of what you are today, and that's your family at the start, right? We've talked about briefly what you had to overcome. Do you remember the first time you felt let down by your family?
Yeah, it was when I was with my mother, 8 or 9 years old, just trying to survive. Having no place to live, no place to call home. I was wondering, what is all this? People, we don't have anyone stepping forward to help us. So yeah, I guess maybe a tinge of sadness, a lot of confusion of, trying to understand why people were treating us that way. Yeah, so I guess that laid the stage for what was to happen.
Rizwan, the good news is your story sort of has a happy ending in terms of how you've resurrected your life. But I do apologize because along the way in this conversation, we're going to have to unpack those skeletons in the closet in terms of what you had to go through, only because I want you to serve as an inspiration to someone who will be listening, right? You talk about having to so-called grow up very soon when you were 11 almost. You resorted to stealing to help your mom's addiction.
Yeah.
What drove you there? Was it a sense of, Ma needs this, therefore I'm going to do everything I can to be a good son?
Yes, I think at the end of the day, as a son, it's very difficult to see your mother go through hardship alone without trying to do something. I guess it's just son's house. Not all, but most sons are, made of. So at that stage when I saw how much she was struggling, the cold turkey especially was very bad back then. I knew I had to do something. I just wanted to relieve her of all the pain. Yeah, so and then I took things into my own hand. I just felt it's just normal. I won't say normal. I think natural for me to do something, to help my mother. That's all.
I mean, there's this age-old cliche that they say men are the providers in that sense, and you were so-called forced to do that in difficult circumstances for your mother. I know your mom passed when you were young as well, but all these years later, when you think of your mother, right, beyond the addiction, what do you remember?
Oh, she's someone who's very strict. She emphasized a lot on the importance of knowledge, reading especially. I guess back then when we really didn't have a place to live and we were just moving around, from one place to another, like I've shared many times, I always had a book with me and I always had the newspaper with me. But the thing that I remember about my mom is, there was once she hit me quite bad because I was sitting on a book. I didn't raise someone to disrespect books or knowledge like this. You're sitting, the book is supposed to be inside your brain. The knowledge there is a book supposed to be in your brain, in your head here, not inside your backside. I remember that very clearly. She you see, that's the thing, struggles aside, she made sure I had some good behaviors going for me, like the way I ate, I spoke, no vulgarities, this and that, Yeah, she made sure of that. And every day before she went to sleep, she would just ask me to read for her something. So I'll be sitting down reading to her.
I think that's so important that you share that of your mother, because for the listeners, they shouldn't just know your mother as someone who had addiction. They should know she was a lady who instilled principles in you that you carry till this day. And we'll talk about the principles that came back to you in your life later on. Because despite those principles, you sort of went into a dark space, a dark life, and you found yourself behind bars more than a few times. So the benefit of the listeners, if you're okay to share, how many years in total were you in prison, and why was there repeated incidences of prison?
If you include those years I spent in juvenile detention, it would be, I think, easily 25, 26 years, like more than half of my life. So why I kept going back? So the thing is, when I was in boys' home, I was 14 years old. My mom died. She was sick. I remember this incident very clearly until today. They came, the superintendent came to me, pulled me one side. And I remember I was playing table tennis. I'm quite good at table tennis, actually. He brought me aside and he was holding my hand very firmly, and he was telling me, I have something to share with you. Your mother just passed away. And I was just looking at him. It's like, really, I was ready. I guess I had no reaction. I was like, your mom just passed away, Rizwan. There was no tears, came out. I was like, what is this person trying to tell me? This is the processing of the shock. It was delayed, very much delayed. And because I think I was keeping everything inside, I didn't know how to process that, because all I had was her, my mother. After that, my one of my uncles came, fetched me, brought me to see her. And when I saw her lying down, that's where everything broke loose.
Of course.
So they had to restrain me inside the room. So that was the start. And when I went back to boys' home, I just started fighting. I don't know. I just kept getting more and more violent. Yeah. And then they had to tie my hands. They tied my legs. And then I was in boys' home B. And then what happened was, B is for those not so serious. And then what happened was they transferred me to boys' home A, because I was getting out of hand. And from boys' home A, still it became even bigger. There was some major fights that happened, and they had to send me to RTC. So I guess this was the start of me not being able to process or understand what was happening to me. And I felt just angry at don't know what. But just that I didn't know what to do. And I was like alone. I know that I was alone. So this feeling of loneliness was very hard on me, I think. I didn't know how to process that.
Rizwan, firstly, thank you so much for sharing that. It can't be easy to have gone through what you had to go through, especially because those were choices not made by you, right? It's life dealing you a card, which what makes your remarkable turnaround all the more remarkable. I have to ask though, from RTC, having spent time as a young offender, you came out, but you sort of went down that path again. Yeah. Did each time get, I'm going to use the word easier, but I don't mean easier. I mean, did each time almost not be as painful anymore?
I guess we all come to a point where certain things happen to us over and over again. We sort of get used to it. So for me, I think I sort of got used to being behind bars. I mean, I was past the stage of fearing what would happen to me. It was more like, this is my fate, this is my life, so this is how it's going to be. I was like just accepting. And because I didn't have any skills, I didn't have any knowledge, I didn't have anyone there to pick me up. All I had were my friends, and many of my friends came from similar backgrounds. So what do we have to teach one another? The same thing, right? So, so that's what I grew up learning. Of course, there were voices around me that telling me back then, when I was small, this is us, this is how we are. Sometimes life deals you certain cards, take it, just move on with it. So that is what exactly happened to me. So all these voices, right, made me believe that this is it. And there is also another reason. Because of what happened to me and my mother back then, no one came forward to help us. When I came out, there was no one there for me. I also came to a point where I told myself I'm not going to beg anyone for help. I wouldn't allow what happened to my mother happen to me. So I chose to do all the the wrong things, but I guess it was pride, ego, and of course a lot of anger that made me going back over and over again to prison.
I take your point about wrong things, but I think at that circumstance, it didn't feel like the wrong thing. You were doing the right thing to survive almost, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I guess you could put it that way. I mean, I had to survive. If only I had the proper tools to survive in a proper way. Yeah, but I didn't have the tools back then.
You didn't have the tools back then, Rizwan, but at some point you sort of upgraded your toolbox because you flicked the switch. You said, can is can. I'm going to turn it around.
Yep.
What flicked the switch?
I think it's I'll have to thank my mom again, because all the reading habits, the appreciation for knowledge has always been with me. So even when I was in boys' home, I was in RTC or prison, I always had books with me. And I have a very deep appreciation and admiration for authors. There is nothing in this world that can give you the same kind of feeling of finishing a good book. Maybe it's because why I feel this way. In prison, in the cell, right, you don't have nothing. Silence, four walls. Everything becomes very stark, very clear. The feelings, the kind of feeling, you don't have anything to interrupt your feelings. You and your feelings alone. So that's why I think I grew up reading a lot of good books. So the books made me feel very emotional. They open up multiple windows to the world, made me understand. And I admired those people who could write so well and bring the world to me in my prison cell. So that's what I think got me going, kept me from becoming worse. I could have easily become a worse version of myself. But books, they taught me along the way. It wasn't a single instant, but it was, throughout all those years, slowly, like droplets. I kept learning new stuff, and thinking about, hey, wow, don't look at these people, can write so well. How I wish I can be them. When my mind started to think that way, how can I be like them? I guess it sort of started to rewire my brain. Because if you want to be like them, you cannot behave like this.
Wow. I say wow because it's very rare that the word multiple offender and avid reader go together. But you were clearly extracting from both ends of the spectrum in that sense for different reasons, but you sort of use the reading part to push you to get out of difficult circumstances. You talk about wanting to be in a certain way, therefore I can't be this way, right?
Yeah.
So along the way, reading meant you decided to pick up education.
Yes.
PSLE, O-levels, you did it while incarcerated.
Yeah.
Rizwan, I've been through a normal education system and I can tell you PSLE, O-levels are difficult. How did you achieve those milestones while being incarcerated?
Throughout my journey in life, I have met a lot of strangers who came into my life giving me advice. People who have always shared with me that, hey Rizwan, I think you can write well, you can speak well, I think you should take up studies, you should think about studying. I think you can. I think you can. I keep hearing this over and over again. Prison officers, social workers, even the CMB officers who caught me after taking my statement and everything, they actually told me, Rizwan, you can write so well, we need to write to plead for leniency, right? So when they read, they say, Rizwan, even I cannot write like this. My God, Rizwan, you should try to do something better with your life. And then the judge, again, my mitigation letter, the judge was asking me, Rizwan, who wrote this for you? I said, I wrote it myself. And the judge was telling me, then what are you doing here in my court? I said, I don't know, Your Honor. I got no idea. But all these things gave me the confidence, go back to pick up books. All this, again, I tell you, these are seeds planted along the way. They did not blossom on the spot. It came later, but they gave me the confidence. So that's where I started reading, and I progressed from reading fiction to difficult books. I started reading all those non-fiction books about history, politics, philosophy, psychology, whatever I could get my hands on. And I tested myself. I was thinking, let's see whether I understand what is being said in the book.
Challenge yourself.
Challenge myself. So I said, hey, actually I can understand. Well, what is, at the end of the day, I'll write my summary. Also what I do is inside prison, I'll take a book, I read. After I finish that book, I will do my own summary. So I will write on a piece of paper what I understand from this book. So when I was doing these self-reflections, I said, hey, actually I can try. Right? Like they said, Rizwan, you should try, right? Finally I told myself, I should try. Okay, let's do it.
And when you did do it, right? PSLE and O-levels. Let's talk about O-levels, right? You sort of... I remember collecting my O-level results and having the cert in my hand. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah.
And how did you feel? Especially when you think about it, all those years ago you shared your mother clipping you on your ear for sitting on a book.
Yeah.
Life took you so many different paths.
Yeah.
And then, at how old were you when you were holding your O-level cert, and how did you feel?
I think I was in my 20s back then. I was holding my O-level cert and I was thinking, well, all those things that people have been telling me, actually was in a way true lah. You see, people who sometimes strangers come into your life, they don't know anything about you, but all these few seconds of interactions, some people can just, hey bro, I think there's a lot of truth in that lah. At least for me lah. Sometimes even family members or even people you grew up with don't have this level of confidence in you that strangers that you meet along the way can have. This is a weird thing, but I think So I was one thing. I was taking when I took my O-level cert, I was looking at it and thinking, hey, actually I can do it. So that's when I decided to take my A-levels lah. And then I didn't look back. The world is moving very fast. If we are not prepared to extract ourselves out from our comfort zone, there is only so much that we can do in life. And to talk about achievements, I don't think it's going to be easy to achieve if we remain in our comfort zone. So my life back then was my comfort zone. And when I decided to change, I took up studies. So when I started taking up school, my mind was ready, okay, I want to change, right? But then came the how. A lot of us in prison, we don't, there are some who like to go back, who just prefer being inside. But then there are many of us, if you ask, right, they will say that this is my last time. This guy has been in prison for the 10th time. You can ask him, bro, after the 10th time, what's going to happen? No, bro, I'm going to change, bro. No? But then he'll come back again 11th time. So there was this big question mark for me. I wanted to change, but how? And one of the big hows, or one of the big things that I realized was I needed to come out of my comfort zone, which is my past life. I need to take on new challenges, new responsibilities. I needed to change the way I was thinking. The habits that I had, if I continue with those habits and that way of thinking, it would just lead me back to the same life. How can I expect a different life when I was having the same circle of friends, I was having the same thoughts, I was going back to the same place, all those things, everything, all the conditions that led me to prison in the first place, the conditions are the same. Then how can I expect the outcome to be different?
Yeah, you sort of broke that vicious cycle, and I like that point you made, right? The outcome was repeatedly being the same, so you decided to sort of change the method that got you there.
Yeah.
Amidst all of that, this new life that you chose was one that you decided you want to give back.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do that? Was there a particular person who along the way had a profound impact on you that then when you were alone you thought, I want to be that person for someone?
I didn't really have people around me who believed in me, right? So there was this social worker. She really, she was one of those who scolded me not to give up. She wasn't advising me. She scolded me, right? Literally, Rizwan, so are you going to give up now? I said, ma'am, relax a bit, ma'am. In fact, she had a lot of impact on me because it made me reflect and think, you see, someone that I barely knew, she got so agitated looking at me giving up. She just wanted to die. Say this, hey, don't give up, Rizwan, don't. So she had a very big impact on me. Of course, I met her like 15 years ago. The change didn't happen on the spot. It came later, and eventually that led me to taking up social work, as a choice. I have to give credit to her.
It's amazing. You talked about seeds being planted already so far, right?
Yeah.
That seed was planted 15 years ago. I just want to zoom into this social worker, right? You say she was getting agitated for you.
Yeah.
And then everything else you shared, right? Was it about someone caring for Rizwan that meant so much to you?
Yep. I think I think you're right. Finally, someone sincerely caring for me, wanting to see me change, had an effect on me. Yeah. The sincerity,
And now that you're walking this path of social work, you work with offenders who are looking to transition to civilian life. Talk to me about your ethos, the way you conduct yourself as a social worker, considering your experience.
I try to be a friend for them. When I sit down, when I start the conversation rolling, I always make it a point to tell them to call me Rizwan, Riz, because it's very normal for us to address social workers or officers or by sir or madam. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, it's good to have boundaries sometimes, but because of my experience, the past that I have, I would prefer to be more of a friend for them. I mean, boundaries, of course, I will observe those boundaries, right? By letting them call me by name, I don't think so my boundaries are going to be blurred. But I think that what people like myself, we need most in life is friends. Someone I can consider a friend that I can trust. The word trust is very important. So when they trust you, they will open up. They will share everything, including things that they don't even share with their family members. And this is the right time for you to capture them. Capture means, you get to the root of the issue.
Yep.
Oftentimes what you hear is just the surface. Yeah. Until, they trust you, the dam will break loose and then you will get to the root. So when we get to the root of the issue, just like for myself, back then I managed to get to the root of my issue, what was holding me back. And, I was able to make intentional and conscious decisions, specific ones to change my life, tackle them one by one, rather than just, like wondering what went wrong, where went wrong. So yeah, I just try to be a friend.
Now, Rizwan, we talked about you completing your education, achieving those milestones, right? And then having this heart to do social work and give back to those who would have walked the same path as you. But ultimately, right, you have a record. The society, despite the many different campaigns, still feels a certain way. But all those things considered, you find yourself with the opportunity to give back in a professional setting. How did that come about?
I guess people have their reasons for, sometimes there's only so much some people can do, maybe. There are a lot of people who actually came up to me when I was in school, shared with me. They would love to have me on in the organizations. But when I was at the tail end of my studies, for some reason, those things couldn't come to pass. So today I work with this organization called East Coast. It's an aftercare organization. They have been around for 30 over years, silently in the background, doing what needs to be done. The reason I decided to remain here and to do the job that I've always, dreamt of when I started taking on social work as a form of study. When I they called me up for an interview, right? So this is the most remarkable interview I've ever had in my life, It's usually for my interviews, people will ask me, people want to hear more about my past, especially my, incarceration and all that. Why, So I went for this interview. They was asking me, tell me about yourself, hobbies, this and that. So I was telling, and of course my cats came up for sure, right? And then my exercise, how I decompress every day, this and that. So there came a point where I have to share a bit more about my personal life. And then I said that, I think I didn't finish the sentence. It's like, okay, I actually spent, I said that I was an ex-offender and then this individual who was interviewing me stopped me at that point. And I don't know, he just told me I didn't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear anything about that. Right? Put that part of you, whatever it is, aside. Tell me about something else aside from that. I was taken aback and I was very pleasantly surprised and very deeply appreciative of that approach. This is the true meaning of walking the talk. You want to know whether I am a good fit for the job, and you ask me things that is relevant to now, to this moment. Not what happened back then. I mean, this is a very different approach. And at that point, I made my decision. This is where I want to be. Yeah, I'm doing the job that I love so much. And I should say that I'm very thankful for having organizations like this in Singapore that is willing to look past our record and, to just give us a chance. I'm just thankful for that.
I want to shift the conversation slightly. We spoke about the milestones in your life. Putting your past life behind you, completing your education, turning to social work. A very recent milestone has been having a home. That must make you feel so confident about yourself in terms of achieving something like that.
Yes, I think all these anchors that I have for recovering offenders like us, it is not only necessary to have the motivation to steer clear from drugs. We need to have physical motivation, physical anchors, and to keep us grounded. Because back then I had nothing to lose. Even with people who, let's say, people who have family, who have wives, children, some of them keep going back again and again. For some reason, all these things cannot hold them back. The anchors that they have are not strong. They are not deep enough. So for me, my home is an anchor now. My job is an anchor. These things I didn't have before. One of those reasons could be because I didn't have. I appreciate them better growing up without. So to me, what is a rite of passage for many Singaporeans? Going through school, buying a home, getting a job, getting married, having children, even having pets. Like a rite of passage. For me, these are like I cannot imagine losing them today. Because it came so later in my life. I think this is like, so wonderful to have. And I appreciate. And these are the anchors that keep me going. And yes, having bought my own home has given me the confidence to buy a bigger home. I have this dream of having a bigger room for my cats.
I knew you were going to say that. I absolutely knew you were going to say that. And I hope you make it come true.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. And part of your anchors, you mentioned a few anchors along the way. You now have a partner. You now have a son from your partner as well.
Yes.
Has that sort of shifted you again? Because there's been many shifts in your life, but this is yet another shift. I'm sure it's changed you for the better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was like I shared, I was parachuted into this role. I had to become a dad, right? And I gladly choose this. No one forced me to. Yeah, and we've been together for 6 years, coming 6 years. My son is 7 years old. And this is another anchor that I have, a very powerful one. Back then again, I had nothing to lose, right? When I was standing in front of the judge, about to be sentenced, I was looking around, and I got so what? I got nothing to lose. I'm not leaving any family members behind. I'm not leaving a mother who is sick or what. It's just me, so I can take whatever you throw at me, no problem, bro. I just go with it, right? But you see, again, I guess these are all intentional again, right? I need to have all these things anchoring me to help me in my recovery, because this is going to be lifelong. As many anchors as I can, I need to have them.
Rizwan, if I can just circle back to something you spoke about being a father to your son now, right?
Yeah.
You talked about being responsible for someone, making the correct choices because another life depends on you. Is that something you learned from your dad's choices?
Yes.
And is that the reason why, when there was an opportunity to reconnect, you walked away from it?
Yes.
I understand that, and I respect your decision there. My final question to you on this episode that has really, in terms of inspirations, really inspired me with everything you've come through. I want to go back to your mother, right? We talk about everything you've been through, where you sit here today, the pride of being a homeowner, the pride of completing your education. If you could have one more call to your mother, right? Suddenly your phone rings and it says, Ma, what would that conversation entail?
I think I would just tell her that, thank her for being the only person back then to believe in me. She was the only one who had absolute confidence that I could be someone in my life. Hence the books, hence the readings. I would just thank her.
Rizwan, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being so honest with all your sharings throughout this conversation. Your mom perhaps didn't give you the childhood that is stereotypical of Singaporeans, but she gave you a belief that can is can. Thank you, Rizwan.
Thank you.